Well, well, well. Welcome to King Arthur Pendragon 5.2, the Great Pendragon Campaign, episode 38. We're here with a punchy, high-energy intro, bringing you the real in APGamingREAL. I am the AP in APGamingREAL, and I'm joined by BigSpoon as Kendric of Pitton, Glimo as Kyned of Laverton, and GrimDarkJames as Gwgan of Shrewton. And I'm hoping I'm using the right names, because people have died so often. I may not have updated the description section. No, I'm losing speed here. Energy. We need to keep the energy up. Glimo, thanks for that resub. We're getting distracted. 74 months. That's pretty good. Previously on the show,
old, Arthur.
we ended the year 498, and now we stand on the precipice of the year 499, a year in which many things are happening. Specifically, you know that the forces that are currently in Cornwall are continuing to advance north and east. There's also a duel with Baron Will and the former young wolf, Kendric, scheduled for Christmas of 499, which is now somewhat more unusual, given the fact that the beef between them has been split, and also Kendric owes, on paper, some manner of loyalty to Baron Will. The topic of what's going to happen at this meeting has not been broached, but you have a whole year to deal with that, so surely it'll be discussed.
Yeah, surely.
You've
I
also
won't just show up and kill him, obviously.
you have secured a deal with the Sussexian Aethelings and Kings to defend your homeland. You pay them tribute, and they intercede in any event that the East Saxons and the West Saxons, or Wessexians, or Gowesi, as they are also known. It's very complicated. Anything anyone wants to do before attending the yearly Pentecostal feast? I think it's still called Pentecostal until Arthur turns it into Easter.
Indeed.
So we did get the outcomes of the battle in the West, or the war in the West, didn't
Yes.
we? At the end of last year, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
so King Idris has taken Devon.
Idris crushed. Devon got
Yes, so he defeated
shattered.
Count Urban of County Devon.
Kendrick's our good friend Earl Thebert of Marlborough lost an arm.
That's right. But he didn't hold it against us.
Yeah, it'd be kind of hard to do that with only one arm.
I'm pretty sure you could.
Too soon, Spoon. Too soon.
It's not. It's definitely physically possible. Wow, really losing that high energy I came in here on. Anything else anyone would like to yap about before we jump to that Pentecostal feast? There are numerous things happening at this feast in Sarum. Countess Ellen is, of course, holding court. Prince Cynric of Wessex, who you know very well as a fuckboy, has shown up. Many call him Prince rather than Atheling, and as he presents himself as the member of the Gowesi, he claims heritage not just as a Saxon, but also as a Breton, and expects to be treated as such. You also find that Prince Mark is in attendance as well. He appears to have a small cadre of followers around him. He is taking, like, the highest ranking knights and merchants to speak to him directly, and his attendants are speaking to people of lower social rank and power. But it sounds like they are attempting to bring people to Cornwall for another push this year into County Yagant, or however that's pronounced. I'm going to let Commonwealth decide. Also in attendance, Sir Gwent and Sir Leo are at a different table, so not the like long tables. They've set up a private table by the hearth where they are discussing matters of religion, righteousness, witchcraft, and alchemy, which have definitely pushed people away from them. Like, this is a serious scholarly discussion. There are many here who are sharing stories of disasters from afar that you can try to listen into. Primarily, there is a visiting knight whose name is Sir Cedric, who is talking about how bad things are outside of Salisbury. And it's kind of like, it's bad everywhere. If you think it's bad in Salisbury, this is actually the best county I've been in. There are new knights. More manors have been distributed, more heritages that were up in the air based on the death of so many nobles have been cleared up, and with that comes courtliness. And I don't just mean good manners. Knights and ladies who are new to this court here at Sarum are, I don't want to say romancing each other, but it's definitely gotten a little bit more flowery and flirtatious than the sort of battle-hardened and bitter that it has been in the past. And finally, there is a woman by the name of Lady Eleanor of Vespera who is spreading rumors and gossip about growing rebellions across the countryside against the rightful rule of lords. And she is basically saying things along the lines of like, here are the bad things that are happening. We should really be cracking down on the peasantry. And she has come with stories from afar from her holds in London.
Okay, so she's not fomenting a rebellion. She is
trying to unfoment the rebellion.
Okay.
Also, there are messengers from Earl Tegfin of Yagant, and of course, Prince Mark is presenting a message from King Idris. The Countess is available to speak to. There's intrigue in the air, as always. And there is the question hanging above the head of this court as to whether you will pay tribute to any particular Saxon court, the same court that you did, all courts, no courts. With that said, with the investment of more knights and the economics beginning to heal, and with the greatly increased tax revenue coming out of the north as Baron Wheel has begun pushing the border further and further back, his heavy investment into lumber industries in order to up the infrastructure of his area. There's a lot of talk about how wealthy he must be, although the three of you know behind the scenes he is sweating. He still has to pay taxes on all of that, and the Countess is the one receiving those taxes, and she seems to be doing all right. So this year, she will not be asking for donations. The county itself will cover the cost of at one dose of tribute, if that is the decision of this court. Almost everyone you know in Salisbury is here, of course, as always, including your wonderful wives, who we almost never talk about, because if we do, James is going to dunk on me really badly, saying that I have no game and no one wants to flirt with me. So,
hey, sorry, I need to jump for just 1 second.
Okay, Glimo has left. The high energy intro is dying out. I'm out of gas. What do you guys want to do?
I have so I'd like to go talk to my wife real quick.
You'd like to go talk to your wife? I don't know why I'm doing that. It's just silly.
So I go over to Gwgan and say, with all of these new knights and new families, perhaps this is an excellent time for our house guest to find a new husband.
I've been thinking about her a lot. She has been attempting to cook.
Oh. Interesting.
Yes. Her creations have been interesting.
Are they any good?
The cuisine of the Iberian Peninsula is very different from our local cuisines. And we do not have the spices and seasonings that she requires to make her dishes authentically. Some of her substitutions have been questionable. But you have to appreciate the work she puts into it. With that said, the sooner she is out of our house, the sooner people will stop talking.
Well, there are plenty of up-and-coming knights here who might be interested in an exotic bride from the continent with, cooking skills.
Did you
I don't
want to
know.
handle that, or
No,
should
no.
I?
I think we should. I think we should work together.
Now, are
You
you're
you take
sincere
the.
in this effort?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I knew you were
Yeah.
going to say that, but I'm asking just to make sure we don't need to make any rolls.
Yes, Kendric is sincere in wanting to work with her to get this lady married and out of his house.
Okay. I don't remember the skill list for this game exactly. I'm pretty sure there is a courtliness skill.
Yeah, there is a courtesy.
Courtesy, yes, please. Your wife
That
is
is a
giving
critical
a
hit.
+5 bonus. Critical hit. Well, your wife is giving you a +5. I think that actually uncriticalizes you.
Yeah, it does.
To some extent, but it is still certainly a success. I want to imagine the two of you are going around together to like investigate these young men for their financial well-doing and independence, but it's more than that, right? Like, just because someone could theoretically support her, that doesn't mean that the Countess is going to give either party permission to marry. So it's about finding somebody suitable. And finally, you settle on a sort of unusual choice. There is a knight by the name of Sir Joffrey the Swift. He is kind of an he calls himself a knight errant, which is a little unusual. It's a little unusual. The term isn't unknown. It is kind of a landless knight to some extent. He doesn't have a manor to fall back on, but he is a local to the area. He was knighted by a knight of Salisbury. He technically owes loyalty to the Countess, but he seems to have come into some unusual wealth in the last year and has gone from being like a tournament knight who kind of hangs on with people. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, I'm going to enter the sword pit. And he's like, I shall follow your back for a reasonable price, and I shall watch it for you, sort of deal. He got lucky in some sort of tournament outside of London and made an absolute fortune, and has, over the winter, they say he's doubled it. Now, whether that's true or not, hard to say. But he is kind of an adventurous rogue. It's said that he has a taste to go questing, and he certainly spends a lot of time on the road at what passes for tournaments. This is a time period where a person who travels alone on a road without even a squire has to be a very capable individual, right? Like, banditry and peasant uprisings are not unheard of during this time period. This guy can handle himself and doesn't sound like he's willing to settle down. But that said, he always comes home every winter, and he seems like a reliable guy.
Okay. So we will take this match to the Countess.
Okay.
And suggest it.
She looks at him, and then she looks at Gwiona, her former handmaiden, and is like, "Oh, sure. You're sure this is the one for her. You're absolutely certain." Just as looking at this guy, 100%, he's got like a feather in his cap somewhere. He wants to be called macaroni for sure. No, there's a reference. That's right, France, eat it up. He's got like very brightly colored clothing, and I don't want to say he's stumbling around, but he's definitely slightly drunk and recreating some of his battles for people. He's like, and then I gave him a bit of this, and that, sir, and that. And there's a lot of like, what is he doing with his left hand? Where, like, why is all his sword fighting like right-handed with a longsword? But yeah, like, this guy's a little unusual. He seems to be pioneering some new sword techniques, but
fair enough.
Your wife is just gives him the up nod. The Countess looks to you. And it's sort of weird because she's looking to you to make sure this is a good match for Yennefer of Lopez. And it's just like, you know, normally the gender switch would be here, where like the woman would stand by the woman sort of deal, but she's like, and you feel like Lady Yennefer will do well with this young man.
I think so. I think Sir Joffrey has a bright future ahead of him. He's got a lot of potential. And I think.
Oh, and one key thing is he speaks the languages of the continent.
He speaks Spanish.
He speaks Spanish and French. Yes.
Yeah. I think that they will be a good match for each other, my lady.
All right. So there's even more celebrating as a pairing is discussed between the Countess and these two individuals. And at the end of it, they appear to both agree to a marriage towards the end of the year. And Yennefer is going to kind of set up, we don't want to call it an estate. Let's call it a mansion on a small piece of land that the Countess is giving to him. Not an enfeifement of any kind, certainly, but he has a little place outside of Sarum, way outside of Sarum, that he can come back to.
And I will, go talk to Sir Joffrey and, congratulate him on his upcoming marriage and, shake some hands and make some friends.
I want to offer you 5 glory for this, for being involved in the love match of Sir Joffrey and Lady Yennefer. You are shaking his hand, and he is extremely boisterous. Almost Saxonian in a way, and he's just like, ha ha, thank you, my good man, thank you. He slaps you on the shoulder. So, you're the one that they call the young wolf. They say that you and your party of adventurers, the Order of the Axe, are capable of summoning down fairies of great power to assist you in battle, and that the moon itself is at your beck and call. If only I had that power, I could summon the moon into my blade and blind my opponents.
They certainly say a lot of things, but we are certainly an adventuring order, I think. We've been all across southern Britain.
Southern Britain. I know it well, for I, too, travel those paths. He punches you in the shoulder and goes, solid muscle there, solid.
You seem to be making quite a name for yourself with your unique sword style and traveling ways.
Well, I don't think I have to tell you that the heavier the armor, the more difficult it is to move about. And of course, the left arm having to hold such heavy objects. I've been experimenting with smaller and smaller shields. You see, really, when you think about it, you just need to get the point of the sword pushed away from your body. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to take the whole blow shield to shield. You just have to kind of push it aside. So I've been trying to work on speed, my man, speed. I fear one day I should be too old to continue to do this particular sword style, but now, while I'm in the prime of my youth, you remember what that was like?
You indeed. Well, if you're ever looking to settle down and join, spend some more time here in Salisbury, you should look me up.
Well, I've heard very good things about your Order of the Axe, but it does concern me that the Order doesn't seem to stand for anything. You have no stipulations, you have no stated goals. You're not a true knightly order like the Order of the Rose or the Order of the Scroll or any sort of, order of some form of table, or square or rectangular in shape, as tables are commonly made nowadays. Have you considered taking a stance on something?
Interesting. I think mostly we were formed for the bonds of brotherhood between our founding members.
Sure, and there's nothing wrong with having a party of friends, but that's not the same thing as having a knight order, I would say.
Perhaps we should look at coming up with some sort of goals, or I'm not sure what
You have to determine your KPIs before you can go.
Oh, wow.
I got everybody but James with that? That's hurtful. I thought that would be a James thing, but all right.
Well, I'll bring it up at our next meeting. But congratulations on the marriage, Sir Joffrey.
Apparently I have you to thank, sir.
Don't, think nothing of it.
I think the world of it. And he uses, again, he's not actually holding a sword, but he does like a bunch of really fancy sword flourishes. And he goes off to talk to some local blacksmiths, and he's like, is there any way you could make my sword lighter? Like, what if instead of a full guard, we just like used some wire so we could twist the swords in there, right? Like, wouldn't that be crazy if we could use more with less? And the blacksmiths are like, yes, that would be crazy. Kyned, Gwgan, what do you have going on?
Kyned, before the festivities got going, he would have let the servants know Lord Wessex's preferences when it comes to alcohol that he had learned from Joseph of Orange.
I see. Interesting. I think you notice that there is some, like, Cynric is definitely more jovial than normal. You know what I mean? It's not like he's manic or, like, through the roof or impassioned or anything, but he's like, the drink this season is better than it has ever been here, I have to say. This really hits the spot. And he's like talking to several ladies, and he's like, do you not agree with me? Here, try some of the drink from my cup. Sup from it. Indeed, indeed.
Is Wessex who we supported last year?
No, you supported Sussex.
Sussex, okay.
Prince Selin. But you've always been friends with Cynric. He's never really threatened your county, despite the fact that he borders it quite literally. And he's always been sort of friendly to not just the three of you, but also to the county itself. I think he is occasionally doing that thing that bros do, though, where he like wraps his hand around the back of a woman's neck and brings her in close to talk to her. Just to indicate that he's a savage barbarian, bro. James, do we have a Gwgan sode here?
Yeah, I think for me, certainly the development in court in terms of, I guess this early preview of the romance period fits very well with Gwgan's interests now. Like having spent most of my skill points in recent years on romance and compose, I think that with what's going on in court, Gwgan's very interested in sort of like promoting that. Obviously, he already has his amour, so he doesn't need to find someone new, but to encourage those who are pair bonding, even if, like, once again, like he acknowledges that there's a marriage and then there is a romance and they're two separate things. So, would encourage people that are, finding a romantic partner as opposed to their wife or husband is still acceptable. I think other than that, the one thing I want to probably do is just try to establish or find out what demands have been received so far from the Saxons. Like, obviously, even though the Countess, claims that she can pay one tribute, to find out like who has asked for tribute so far. What have they asked for? Do we just continue supporting Sussex and because that worked for us last year, etc.
It's classic. Wessex, Essex, and Sussex have all sent letters, although in Wessex, in the case of the Gawessi, they sent Prince Cynric, as they do every year, to make the case in person and also drink all of your wine and flirt with your women and spread the word of perfumes from the continent and how bathing might be a good idea every once in a while. The call for tribute, as it has been every year, is £100.
Okay.
The inflation is surprisingly good in this period. I looked it up. Apparently, inflation from like 500 to 1060 something, probably Battle of Hastings, is about 0.5% every year. You know, what you paid in shillings for chicken 1 year is basically the same you're going to pay when you die. So,
all right. So I think on that basis, then, yeah, I'll probably try and get Cynric drunk. You know, like encouraging him to partake in his flirting and romance, so that he, you know, so that he leaves here eventually with no tribute, but with, you know, a belly full of ale and stories to tell. And
I'm helping you out there, my friend.
yeah,
yeah. So I think you have an opportunity here. I +5 from Kyned. I think compose, courtesy, or flirting. And flirting would, I know this is a bit out, I know, but I think for you, flirting would take the like wingmanning for him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And trying to hype his night up, essentially. Like, you're playing the matchmaker for him. Not that he's going to marry any of these women, but this court has gotten, I don't want to say it's gotten more. It's that when you were younger, all of you got married pretty early. There wasn't any time for playing games like these. And of course, you just inherited from the deaths of your fathers. And for Kyned and Gwgan, you also inherited from the deaths of people on the battlefield. Like, there wasn't time for you to walk around and flirt. But this court did have romances and flirtations before that. Famously, the Countess and the Earl were both very flirty with each other and had a good relationship. It's just that with so many dead people in the wake of the, is it the the infamous feast.
Yeah.
There wasn't time for any of that, right? It's coming back. It's literally the spring of the season. Now, to be clear, I know you said the start of romance. This is not the start of like a great romance period. This is, we've returned to background radiation levels, essentially.
Yeah.
For you, flirting would kind of be wingmanning him, while maybe also giving like an up nod to the Countess in the process.
I think I'll stick with courtesy in this particular case.
All right.
Yeah.
I believe with a +5, that means you'll be rolling at a 21.
Correct.
Even more if you'd like to roll a passion, although you have hate Saxons, so.
Yeah, but I'm not with the same degree that which I hated with my. Oh no, I'm still 17. But yeah, okay.
Hospitality might not be out of place here.
Yeah, but that's all right. I'm happy.
You don't
have
have to roll with a passion, surely, but.
Yeah. I'm not that concerned.
Okay. 7 out of 20 is good enough. I mean, there was no chance you were going to fail. You show him a good time. It's you know the people of this court. Several of these young women, you might not have been officially introduced to them before. Like, we haven't talked about them on screen, but you know them, you know their families, you know like what they like and kind of their styles. And you help Cynric. I don't know that you talk to him that much, but he's a very easy to understand person. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, this is not someone who's a master plotter like Kyned or has deep currents. He pretty much is someone who's stream of consciousness. So it's not that difficult to help nudge him in the direction that you want him to go.
More likely I stand at one side of the room and send over more drinks or send over certain people.
I love the idea that you and Kyned are both like, more drink. And you're talking to the same servant, and he's like, yes, my lord. And you tip him, and then he goes over to Kyned, and it's like, oh, you want me to send more drinks over to him? Yes, my lord. I love this background idea of this servant who's making absolute bank tonight in terms of political favors. I want to open the floor up to what anybody wants to do here. You know, there's a lot going down. There are, of course, just to make sure we don't forget about it, representatives from Earl Tegfun of Yagant and Prince Mark of Cornwall. Well, I mean, Mark isn't a representative. He's here representing his father, who are asking for people to commit to the cause of the war. another push to discover the mines and to conquer southwestern Britain.
Are my minstrels about?
They're always about. They're always about, my good man.
I will check in with them and see what the news of the year is.
They have switched over to becoming a full tin whistle band. So it's like full 12 people with tin whistles. And then whoever's not tin whistling at the time is doing like barbershop quartetting. Their performances now consist of like an album that has a lot of skits on it. You know, they'll do like 1 or 2 songs, then they'll do like a performance skit it's not like a 3-act play that takes like 2 hours. It's like a 5-minute long morality skit where something bad happens to someone who's not Christian and something good happens to someone who is Christian. Oh, they always do the Good Samaritan in the middle for like intermission. They're like, and now for the Good Samaritan, and then intermission, and everyone's like, I really paid attention to the Good Samaritan because I needed to go to the bathroom pretty badly, and it's kind of hyper-focused. They bring news from afar about some of these disasters that have been happening. You go through it. It's just a lot of other counties that are having trouble pulling themselves together to some extent, that are not having as much success as you guys have at being stable. I'm trying to think of how to word this well, right? Like, Salisbury seems like it's bad off, and they keep having to pay huge amounts of money comparatively. But other counties are stuck in constant battle with each other, like Estergales, Escavelin, Cardigan, Gwaled. All of those places are in constant battle, often with each other, sometimes with the Irish. Tintagel and Devon were just at war with each other, and now it's Tintagel, well, I mean, all of Cornwall and Devon versus Jagant. Like, Huntington has caught some shit because they flipped to the Saxons, and so a half dozen counties around them are having beef. But probably the biggest news to you comes from Ridderchan, which is a bit, you know, close to Oxford, where you were wandering through the forest earlier. It sounds like somebody has bounced the local countess out, and she's looking for adventurers or loyal knights or any allies at account level that she can call upon. Doesn't sound like anyone's really eager to answer the call, because several of her castles have been taken by very serious bandit armies. Like, maybe they might not have very many knights among their number, which is not surprising for bandits, but they have a lot of people, and they seem to be entrenching well. How she got removed from these castles is not clear. Several members of the band give you differing reports and are looking at each other. One of them's like, well, I heard it was magic. And somebody else is like, that's ridiculous. A fairy assisted the defenders in exchange for the blood of 100 ewes. And another person's like, don't listen to these fools, my lord. It is clear that these men were turncoats from within who took the castle walls and invited their bandit brethren in. And it's strange to you that this band of intelligentsiers was ready to come here and tell you about this incident, but no one's, like, they didn't check with each other about their information. That seems strange. Yeah, I know it sounds comical, but this seems almost sinister in a way. Like, they are bamboozled and confused about it.
Interesting. Well, thank you for the enlightening information. And at the next opportunity, I will relay this to the rest of the Brotherhood so that we can... Also with my concern that it seems very strange that someone seems to have gone out of their way to feed this to all the members of my troop. But but not the same story.
I feel like there's an opportunity, though, to make an ally out of this Countess and Ridichan. Ridichan's quite a way away, but at this point in time...
Yeah. Not too far, though.
Yeah, you're right. It's just, I guess it's north of Silchester.
Yeah, it's one of our neighbors-ish.
Yeah. So I think we should probably encourage the Countess to at least write to the Countess of Ridichan and offer assistance if we can spare them. If our force is not otherwise engaged.
I agree. And regarding the matter in Yagant, I plan on honoring the agreement I had with Sir Thebert, and advising the Countess against sending any forces this year. I don't think Yagant can withstand King Idris, but nor do I want to help King Idris win any more British land.
Yeah, for now, if our coffers are flush, we don't need to turn mercenary. We can instead use our forces to build allies.
Indeed.
While you're saying that, you see that several knights are interested in pledging. No one has pledged yet, because last year the Countess obviously was like, we must all pledge to one side or the other. But many knights who got quite wealthy during that battle are hearing pretty desperate pleas from both sides. And seeing, what's the opposite of dollar signs in this situation? Seeing gold coins in their eyes? Seeing bars of silver.
Pound sign. I mean, because the pound sign is the Libra symbol. So
yeah, I guess, yeah.
That's why the pound sign's an L.
I see. I would like anyone who's interested to roll Recognize here, as several people join the feast partway through. Now that we're kind of in a
fail.
Normally, I don't like to roll when it's so low, but this one I think I will roll anyway, even though I'll be fed. Okay, still a fail.
I'm also interested if anyone would like to roll Heraldry. So this was for two different individuals. I'm now asking for the coat of arms on one of them.
Yeah, I'll roll that with your Heraldry. Oh, that's a fumble.
That's a fumble.
Kendric thinks it's his own.
Yeah, like, what is that man doing wearing my...
Kendric, you're not certain. Kind of embarrassed to think this, but there's a possibility that this man is your father.
How can you be... Clearly his griffin is pleasant, whereas yours is rampant.
Yeah.
You see a series of messengers. One of them is not a squire, right? Or a page. This is like a common messenger, except perhaps that they are dressed quite wealthily. And in fact, there is an air about them as someone who has a touch with magic. Maybe it's runes sewn into their clothing. Maybe it's the silver thread. There's something about them that gives you an association that you've only really felt around Merlin. And nowadays, you kind of like Gwent is starting to give off this vibe, this aura as well. And maybe you've encountered it from a few ladies unconsciously. But now that you're looking at this guy, you're like, I think this guy might have magic. But they're not a knight, they're not a squire or a page. It is a young man. He is wearing the coat of arms of a dragon that is rampant, and it is holding an azure scepter. And the background is argent, which is all very unusual. I mean, for one thing, a dragon rampant is, of course, the sigil of the Pendragon house. There are very few knight houses who would dare counterclaim a dragon. So either this person is a new house and a suicidal, or is a very old house. They are looking around, and they move directly towards you, Kendric. And you know what? Now that they're closer, you think you recognize this heraldry. For sure, for sure. You definitely, this is someone that you drank with and fought beside long ago in that battle where you slew the Duke.
The Battle of Terrorbill.
Yes, yes. It must be one of those nights, of course. It must be one of those nights.
Yes, of course.
You recall the name of that house. I'm just going to let you make up a house name at this point, because we already know it's wrong.
Okay. Let's see here. So this is, I will greet. So, but this guy's not a knight, right?
Correct.
Okay. Let's see here. Just get my map open. So he'll greet him and say hello. Welcome to Sarum. I believe I fought with your master, the knight that you work for, Sir Gerard of House Tiddington.
This is unlikely, my lord. I come in service of King Cadwy of Somerset.
Oh. Are you sure? I think I recognize your heraldry there.
I assure you that the ancient crest of the King of Somerset is well known among the knowledgeable.
Well,
you can see nearby that the local bishop is like, this person, like, you know, like a good Christian man is like, I think I recognize this upstart, his magic ways, this fucking pagan. You can hear him muttering in his sacramental wine. This herald says, I understand that you, Sir Kendric, and your Order of the Axe are to be thanked for a message timely and filled with haste presented to King Cadwy.
That is true. We did send him a message regarding a matter of security of his lands.
I cannot bring it into this halls, but outside you will find a bronze axe that will never chip, nor will it ever lose its edge. It has the blessings of a great fairy upon it. King Cadwy presents it to your order, such that it may be held in respect between his house and your order until the end of time.
Well, then I thank King Cadwy for his generous gift. Please convey the order and my personal thanks. And I'll clap him on the shoulder.
Okay, he goes, ow. Sorry, Yes, very good then. He nods, and then he just kind of really awkwardly pivots and turns to leave.
Yeah, well, and I'll call over a servant and have him bring some food and wine or whatever this guy wants to drink.
By the time you've turned around, this guy is gone from the hall.
Oh. Huh. Interesting, and he couldn't bring it inside.
The bishop comes over. Bishop Rogers like, hey, I'm older now since the last time you saw me, Sir Kendric. Fucking pagan. Still, I remember the days of the treason trial when I pointed out that you were a fucking pagan there, too. Have you ever considered conversion? I see that you were speaking to one of those Somersetian magicians and wizards. This guy's stumbling drunk, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Well, Bishop, I don't think conversion is in my future, but, certainly some of my friends who are pagan or who were pagan have converted, and,
Which one of them was that again? Was it Kyned?
Yes, Sir Kyned is now a
It's hard to
devout
remember
Christian.
nowadays. They all die all the time. Everyone's dying all the time. You remember Albans?
I do remember St. Albans, yes.
He looks haunted talking about Albans. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, many.
It
It was a dark
and
time.
Sir Kendric will swiftly change the subject. He's like, oh yes, we were in Somerset last fall, and did a small service for King Cadwy, and he just wanted to send his thanks.
King Cadwy, they say he's almost 100 years old now. Uses magic to keep himself alive.
Oh, I heard it was there were some healing waters, some like baths or something like that.
Oh, that's probably not true. Probably not true. No.
You think it's some form of pagan magic then, perhaps?
Yes. God would never grant pagans such healing waters. No. What you're saying is wrong. What I'm saying is right.
Yes, of course. And he'll wave over a servant for another glass of wine and hand it to him, and then, extricate himself from that conversation.
It's the same servant feeding alcohol to
100%. And he'll find Kyned and Gwgan, and he'll be like, that man who just entered the hall there was from King Cadwy. He brought us a gift. There's a bronze axe outside for the Order of the Axe.
Well, it's a lovely gift.
Yeah.
Certainly,
I wasn't expecting anything, really.
Yeah. I mean, certainly you should claim it. It's you lead the order, and
sure, we can put it on the wall in the guild house, in the chapter house, I guess you'd say. Shall we go take a look?
Sure. Was there any expectation of homage to be paid to Cadwy on our behalf then, because of this?
I don't think so. He didn't mention that. It was just in thanks for the message, for the warning you sent.
So no expectation of homage, but just to be clear, you don't own the axe. You're holding the axe in trust.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
We should probably check with the Countess to make sure we can receive
it's on lease.
without tax implications or FTC concerns.
There's Jay. There it is. I was wondering where he went. He's back. Actually, there's a tariff on axe movement into the county.
So I guess
the old woodcutter's tax.
Yeah, the old woodcutter's tax. We'll go step outside and take a look at this axe. Or I guess Kendric will, if either of you want to go with him.
Sure. Have you ever heard, by the way, of the ancient lights law in Britain? So, because Britain, in the Middle Ages, had a tax on windows, so you had to pay the crown for every window your house had.
Right.
But they brought in a rule at the same time called it's the lights rule, where effectively, provided the sun has fallen on a window in your house continuously for like 7 years, nothing can ever block that sunlight again. So you can say that, like, this window receives ancient light, so therefore you can't build an apartment blocks next to my house that would stop the sun from falling on this window.
Wow.
That's very funny. But you go, no, this window has received ancient light. You cannot block it. If you block this window, you'll break the seal, and terrible evils will be unleashed upon the land of Britain.
20 years is how long the light has to have fallen on the window before you can then, legally reject any application to have it blocked by another building.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I feel like this is almost directly out of that Game Changers skit about the baseball player who knocks down the building in sunlight. has to be some relationship between these.
Well, I always like when like old laws are still in place that create weird things. And so a friend of mine was having trouble the other day with a weird kid like being on her property like looking at her windows, that sort of stuff. And she asked about what she could do. And I said, you can tell them to move. In Australia, it's called the Enclosed Lands Protection Act of 1906. But because it's like a 1906 law, I did warn her that he can be there legally, provided he can show that being on her land is the fastest way to bring livestock to water.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's amazing.
Well, I think we got time to put more one thing in here before we go on break, right?
Well, let's go check out this axe.
Yeah. Let's look at the axe.
The three of you.
I assume the reason he couldn't bring it in was because he couldn't bring weapons into the court.
Yes, you can't bring weapons in.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
There was no specific. Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yes, it would have been problematic to bring an axe in, even as a.
Did you mention to us that you got the heebie-jeebies of like the magician vibe from him or not?
Yeah, Kendric will mention it and be like, he had something like, he reminded me of Merlin, but not in the I hate Merlin type sense, more in the like, he was mystical and magical, it seemed.
Yeah. That's probably why Bishop Roger was all over you.
Yeah, well.
So, as you all gather the Order of the Axe, go out and look at the axe, Gwent, I don't think he like specifically refuses, but he's like, I'm having a very important conversation with Sir Leo, and you recognize that you basically haven't seen Leo in like 5 years. He like straight up disappeared in the middle of a passion, and he occasionally shows up in court, but for him to be here at the Easter festival is like the longest anyone's seen him in one place. And there's like a aura around him now. Like he has a vibe to him that sort of feels like he's different. He's different. He's built differently.
He's built different now.
Hayden comes with you, no question. When you go out, you see that Sir Seath and Dame Erwin are in a nearby alleyway, and they are both insulting each other at the same time as they are also like wildly flirting with each other in a physical way.
Who is this again?
Seath and Erwin, your two minor, two minor knights who see this sort of the. I don't want to say he's cowardly. I mean, he's still just as valorous as anyone else. He's a very cautious man, and Erwin is a very functionally aggressive, bureaucratic knight.
But she's competent. He's incompetent from memory.
Yeah. Yeah, correct.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you guys go past, they pretend that they weren't just, like, going at each other's clothing. And are like, oh, look at this axe! And everyone's like, wow, that's a good-looking axe right there. Great axe.
So whenever you mention her, I always in my mind get like a younger version of Brienne of Tarth from like the Game of Thrones series. What was her name? Gwendolyn Christie. Like a younger version of Gwendolyn Christie. That's who plays that character.
All right, you've locked it in. That's not who I see, but I've learned from Radisaurus that I need to just shut the fuck up and let other people decide what my NPCs look. I did several intro hours on this recently. I think Seath is almost certainly played by a younger version of the guy who did Snape. For sure.
Alan Rickman.
Yes,
for sure.
Like a less confident Alan Rickman. He's a stringy black hair as well. So maximum greasiness.
Although there's that like progression, which is like the kid from Stranger Things, then Timothée Chalamet, then Keanu Reeves and Alan Rickman. That's the shoulder length black hair progression.
Yeah, that's their
from young to old.
Pokemon evolution.
So Alan Rickman is the mega evolution of this? Okay, I see.
So what is this? What's the deal with his axe, AP?
It is a bit strange. It's not just that the blade is made of bronze, which is already a pretty strange choice of metal for an axe in this day and age. Like, iron is going to be the preferred material. You probably wouldn't make an axe out of steel in this day and age, right? Steel is still quite rare. It needs to be the highest quality. Irons need to be worked under a hot fire with and you'd normally put steel for something like armor, not like chainmail, you're still probably going to use iron in this age, but like some sort
Like a
of
helm.
like, yeah, or like a shoulder pauldron or like a gauntlet or something might be made of steel, or of course weapons. But and this is not an axe to like, this is not a war axe. It has a bronze handle. In fact, it almost seems like it's just been cast out of bronze. It's not like a bronze head was fitted to a bronze rod. It just looks like one solid piece that was done all together, which is very strange. No weld marks, all perfectly fitted. And the back of the axe is bowed. So the whole axe has a curve to it, almost like a sword that you would, like a cavalry saber, but in an axe. And it's a little short. Like, it's probably about 6 to 8 inches shorter than you would want for a normal axe. But the moonlight gleams off of it almost sinisterly. And the like cutting edge is like white instead of the normal bronze color. It just like very sharp looking.
Can I perhaps roll fairy lore?
Yeah.
I mean, it's an extremely low chance, but
I mean, you definitely know it's been enchanted. I mean, he straight up said that it's a magical axe. But yeah, you can roll fairy lore if you'd like.
So the way that you describe like using steel to like make a single piece of equipment, like I imagine just turning up to my armor with like an ingot of steel, and the armor saying, "Yes, this will sponsor many foundlings."
You just turn up with an ingot of steel, and he goes, "This will sponsor one founding." Okay, another fumble and a fail. Yeah. So, Kyned, you're looking over this axe. I mean, you don't know a lot about magic. Apparently, you know a little bit more than some other people. And you're not even rolling for magic. You're rolling to see what fairy blessing has been placed on this. I don't know if Kendric passed along that a great fairy had blessed this. I don't even know if you would know what that means, right? Like, you don't have the basis of magical knowledge. All of you have a general knowledge that like there are greater and lesser fairies and that they can lay blessings upon things. But what does the blessing of a greater fairy mean? Kendric, you straight up are just like 100% entranced with this thing, Gollum, Sauron style. You're just I covet. You just magically begin to covet the axe.
I think he like picks it up and like lifts it and is like, what a how generous of King Cadwy to send us such a magnificent weapon or tool. I'm not sure.
It'll look good on the wall of the guild house, for sure.
Indeed.
But maybe you hear a whisper in your mind, what if it wasn't on the wall? What if I used it?
Does it seem like a functional weapon?
No, it's definitely a tool. It's way too short to be used as a weapon. You certainly wouldn't want to use this in combat to like get over someone's shield and break it or anything like that. I mean, theoretically, bronze is certainly a good enough metal for an axe as a weapon, but with the strange back handle, like, you're just there and you're like, I could chop some trees with this, is what you're hearing in your mind. I could chop a tree. I could do some tree work.
Okay. Maybe I'll test it out when I head back to Pitton.
No, like your whole personality isn't subsumed by this, but you are feeling a magically compelled fairy whisper in your mind that's like,
yeah, like
this need not hang on any trees. Wall.
Are you taking the deforestation action in the winter phase?
Yeah, the foresting. Yeah,
yeah. And we risk ruination.
Yeah. Risk losing all of my forests.
Yeah, he's doing it Civ 6 style though, so he gets a bunch of production hammers towards his next building in the process. See, that's the problem, is that the Baron Will is playing Civ 6 and the rest of you are playing Pendragon. He's trying to do...
There is an option in the Book of the Manor where you can do deforestation to get more money, but every time you do it, there's a risk you ruin your lands.
Yeah.
So Kendric will go, after like inspecting the axe and like looking it over, giving it a couple like practice swings. He'll go like put it in with the rest of his stuff.
It swings well in your hand. it almost feels like it was meant to be swung one-handed, which is strange for an axe. Especially not for a war axe, but given how short it is, and with it's almost like it follows the curve of your hand the way that the back is bowed, and you're like almost like golf swing practicing with it. You're like, this feels good. Feels good.
Wouldn't it be something that you would use in like a sword and or not a sword and shield, like an axe and shield type thing? Or is
I
it
want
just
to be very clear. This
okay,
thing is
it's
not
just like a
weapon.
hatchet.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like a hatchet.
Okay.
Definitely a tool.
Okay. Yeah, he'll tuck it away in his stuff.
Well, not only is it time for a break, Spoon's wife is messaging me on Discord, so I can only assume something bad is about to happen to me. I'm about to get trolled. We'll be back in about 5 minutes. We'll see how my mood has endured the mockery that's about to happen. Well. Let's talk about what you want to do from here. Still plenty of things you can get involved with. Still plenty of mischief to go about.
I think it's time we should have our talk with the Countess about this year's affairs.
Sounds good.
You go to speak to the Countess. You sent a note over earlier about the situation in Ridichan, and she seems to be in discussion about that. She's consulting with several women who know the Countess of Ridichan. She's not unknown to the Countess Ellen, but she wants to confirm the information that she has, and she has some knights here consulting with her, including Baron Will. It sounds as if the Countess Lady Ridichan had 60 knights at her beck and call, which is a considerable number of knights for someone who has been displaced. And people are calling this group the Oxford Usurpers, and the Countess seems to be of a mood to send a scouting party to determine truth from fiction, considering how messed up things are. And when you approach, she dismisses everybody by saying, we need a break from this. Everyone take 5. Let's get some drink in you, have a good meal, and then when we return, let's go at this problem fresh. We're going to call this a blue sky meeting for sure.
Alcohol will help you think.
Yeah.
We call it brain juice.
My lady, yes, we've come to discuss the matters this year to see if we can offer any assistance. Obviously, we sent across the note regarding Ridichan.
I am of a mind that affairs that we are currently keeping should remain in motion as they are. Is there some reason that we might change who we owe tribute to this year? Do you have cause?
I think if the situation has not changed on their side, then the situation should not change on our side. We've spent today trying to ensure that our prince here leaves the court inebriated enough to forget about pursuing tribute this time around. So I think that we paid one last year and there was no repercussions from that. I think that's safe to do so again this year, unless my brothers have any other advice.
I see no reason to change horses midstream here, unless something changes with the Saxons.
Agreed.
Something has changed. There are rumors about movements of troops in Cumbria. There is some discussion about the Duchy of Nohout, or however you pronounce this, because I think it's fictional. Sussex, Wessex, Kent, Essex, and Dira are all coming together with the heirs of Octa and Eosa to make a decision as to whom all Saxons should serve. They tire of chieftains and high chieftains, and there are rumors that perhaps this year, perhaps next year, they will discuss naming a Saxon king who will have dominion over the land of Britain. The rulers of the Duchy of Nohout have strong claims to the line of Octa and Eosa. But of course, Sussex is perhaps the most powerful army of all. And Cumbria is a deeply rich land in the north. As long as the Saxons control it, they can threaten Roman forts and strong Roman towns in the north. Places that trade with, what do they call Scotland at the time? Probably not Northumbria, right?
Lothian.
Yes. Lothian. Trade with Lothian is controlled through these towns.
Or Caledonia, is that the name for it?
I thought Caledonia. Yeah, oh yes, Caledonia is Scotland. Yes. That's the Roman name for it.
Roman name for it,
yeah. They probably wouldn't call it Caledonia in this court, but control of those Roman towns is control over a large portion of the lands. If a Cumbrian Saxon is to be named a high king, I suspect that while our allies and minders in the south may move troops north and give us temporary reprieve, the Isle of Britain may also suffer greatly. I cannot imagine a united Saxon front being any good for any of the counties, or for a restored kingdom in any way. I do not know where to put our focus this year. The wars in the west, Saxons in the east, who are northeast. We have... I think I got those wars backwards. To our northeast, we have my good friend, who I have not heard from in some time, Lady Ridichan. It is strange to me that with so many allies that border her, and with the River Thames running through her territory, she can find no allies to help her. And I would ask that my knights go there, but we are stretched thin. I do not know where to put our focus with so many things requiring our attention. And even still, there are rumors in my court from this Lady Eleanor that things among the peasantry are not as good everywhere as they are here, and perhaps not as good here as I might believe. It is difficult to know who to trust in these times. What counsel might you have for me?
I look to Kendric to speak first.
And did you pay the tariff on that axe?
Yes, of course, I will pay the tariff on the axe. But I believe that...
Milady, if I might, I found it strange that it seemed someone had gone out of their way to send the rumor of Lady Ridichan's fate to me through several different of my agents, but gave each one of them a different story. I am a bit concerned that this might be planted to draw us out.
How strange.
I was hoping that since you knew Lady Ridichan, that perhaps you had your own way of finding out if this information was true.
She gives you a strange look that I don't know if Kendric and Gwgan clock. But you're her spy master, so when you're like, do you have the assets to discover this? She's like, isn't this yours?
What I was asking is if since she had a personal relationship, if she had heard anything.
Yes, so I think what you're realizing now is that she hasn't heard anything from her in a while, and she's in fact considering sending a scouting party. It's really a question of how big of a scouting party, right? Like, is this we just send some peasants maybe with a single knight as escort to make sure that you can get through any legal problems? Is this like a group of squires and pages in the way that you all were sent to deal with the bear? Is this a knight scouting force? A full assemblage of Salisbury? Even mercenaries, perhaps? But again, there's problems in every direction, and every night you commit in one way is a night that can't be used back at home for defense.
How close is Baron Wheel's lands to Ridichan?
Quite close.
But they're on the western side of the county.
He is on the western side, and Ridichan is on the eastern side.
Northeastern side,
It's basically beyond Silchester.
Okay, I thought he was north.
He's north and west.
He's north. Yeah, he's northwest.
Yeah.
So he's like.
Okay, so he's right there.
So he's like over here.
I have so many character sheets open right now. I can't see where you.
Okay.
But yes.
Yeah, I'm pinging on the map.
Yeah. So he is expanding the border north, which is allowing him to go further east. But yes, he doesn't control the northeasternmost part, and I mean, he technically doesn't directly border Ridichan. Wanborough is part of County Marlborough, I think, which isn't even on this map, although it does exist in fact. You know what I mean? You just went through Wanborough last year when you were visiting Sir Thebert. So there's a whole county between these two, but Marlborough is not particularly wide.
I would say a small group of people that know their way through the forest, that they could move quickly, get the story, and come back and advise.
Do you have anyone that you know is good with a woodsman, perhaps, or a knight who is good at woodcraft that you might suggest?
I give a significant PC glance to Kendric about perhaps him and his woodsman friend, and my wood skills have improved some over the year, but if I would not volunteer Kendrick's man without Kendrick's leave, so I kind of give him the eyebrow.
I think perhaps I can lead a small enough party to scout out the area and see what's going on. Find out any information.
Will you take your Order of the Axe with you?
I would certainly take a large enough force that if what we've heard is true, that we would not be overwhelmed. But it's something that we would have to talk about first. Yeah. So my woodsman is only in Camelot, the Camelot forest.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he's still skilled at hunting and woodcraft.
Yes.
Anyway. He just doesn't get the bonus outside of Camelot.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel we should establish, if we're going to go, if anyone's going to go, we should establish what the limit of our assistance will be. If there is a need to get involved in conflict with this, with these usurpers, are we doing that, or do we report back and?
Well,
I would suggest small moving party, get there as quickly as we can, and find out if this is real or if this is a trap.
Might I
Preferably
suggest
a
that you
group.
take Sir Paul with you?
Sir Paul.
He is a knight who owes loyalty to Baron Will. He is one of his knights back from when he was a banneret knight. Sir Paul has been handling a lot of the woodcraft that the Baron has demanded. He has been knocking down many trees and planting new ones, surely, but the woods churn beneath his feet, and Sir Paul has been directing those efforts in the western forests. It is a expensive task digging up the roots of such old trees and flattening the land, and I suspect that Paul can be missed for some time, but his expertise at forest travel may serve you well. You do not have to bring him. I merely believe that you could borrow his services from Baron Will.
Sound advice, my lady.
That's Paul with a W, not a U.
Okay. Believe that if we are to go, I think the Order of the Axe and their tertiary knights, family knights, should be more than enough. I'd say maybe a handful.
I worry that a force even that big, we risk getting pulled into conflict.
Well, and a force any smaller.
An intelligence gathering mission in out quickly. If we take 24, we're going to be seen and we're not going to move quickly.
Well, and if we take less, or a less than 10, and we are found out, we'll be overwhelmed. And then no one will report back to the Countess. Besides, they don't know that we're there to do anything. If what is said is true.
Seems like this is the sort of information that was Would I gain anything by doing an intrigue check?
Right now with the Countess?
No, on
the info.
I'm going based off of my hearing of what you said.
I think that if you make an intrigue check, it won't be something you cook up right here. It'll be spending the rest of the night consulting with people and working the room, essentially, which is more than fine.
Okay.
But if you want to be like, before we make a decision tonight, which we certainly don't need to do, let me cook, I think that's more than reasonable for the secret spy master to do.
That's what I'll say. Let's plan that we're going to look into this, but let me spend some time trying to find some more information. And now that you have confirmed that you haven't heard anything, but also haven't heard anything from her, let me source this down a little bit more, and then we can make a plan in the morning.
And then we'll, if we can find out more information, forewarned is forearmed, and we will know what sort of force we need to take.
Just to circle back on our goals, I wanted to confirm that we are all in agreement that it would be best to pay the Sussexians to continue tribute and perhaps keep an eye on the situation so that we might know who comes out on top of this Saxon rivalry.
I agree.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
And I shall let you be about your news. I must reconvene my council and find whatever we can from the sources that we have about Ridichan and develop some plot by which we might help the lady.
Your Grace, what about the fact that many of our knights who grew rich off last year's raiding on behalf of King Idris may seek to do so again? I think that we have encouraged that we not join either side this year. But there are those who may seek to grow their wealth. I think that the issue with knights getting wealthy working for other lords is that it diminishes your power over time. I think that it would benefit you to discourage anyone from joining in that particular fight this year. If there is no benefit to you, then the knight should stay here and guard Salisbury.
Perhaps it is a good year for contemplation and to infrastructure week. It is a good time to see to the roads. My complement of knights who has escorted me has been quite thin of late. I cannot always rely on the trustworthy and very capable Sir Arnault to be the most senior member of that group. It is time to expand. Someone of my standing should have dozens of knights during the progress, and perhaps it is time that games be held and new knights be observed to see who might join such esteemed progress as that of my county.
If I may, my lady, I would be more than happy to hold such games on the lands of Pitton.
Such games will be expensive, sir. Do you offer as well to pay for them?
I do.
Okay. I will not look such a gift twice in the mouth. I implore you to craft your games well, and I hope only that there are no casualties among our knights. It should truly be a place of honor among our people.
I shall do my best to uphold the honor of Salisbury and to meet your wishes.
Now these are still pre-tourneys, right?
Yeah.
We're not in the tourney phase. We're in the there's a pit where people fight, and maybe there's some songs and dancing and stuff like that, but it's not that big.
I think Kendric will say I'll arrange the games in the way of the old Trojans.
Yes, the Trojan
Legends.
War games. Yes, of course. How big of a tournament would you like to set up?
So
I believe there are costs specifically
mentioned
in some book. It's just hard to remember which one.
So there's actually I want to say it's Book of the Estate, maybe. There's like a cost for literally they're called Trojan games.
I see.
I think it's like 25, maybe. Let's see here.
And how big of a tournament would you like to have? Your options are the following.
Okay.
Neighborhood, which is like knights in
local area, like just around Pitton.
Yeah, so local would basically be East Salisbury. Regional would be Salisbury. And like Silchester, Hampshire, Southport, Dorset, Somerset, surrounding counties. And then a royal tournament would be all of the island.
Well, I was say, I don't think I can throw a royal tournament.
You can throw a tournament of that size. You probably just don't have the money to do it.
Okay, so so what are my costs?
It's in the Book of the Manor, page 41.
Okay.
Book of the Manor. Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Does it have the sizes in the same way as the later rule books do?
I believe it uses the exact same words that you just said. Yep. So,
do you have 900 pounds?
No, I do not.
Then you can't afford a royal tournament.
I will throw a local tournament.
Okay, so basically Salisbury or
Salisbury.
East Salisbury. All right.
All right. Well, I guess you were. Well, let's see.
Not
I don't think I. Yeah, I don't have the money for a regional tournament.
So this is a big event, right? Like tournaments in London are no surprise, of course, no surprise at all. But like most tournaments nowadays are like for weddings of big famous things. Hosting an independent tournament like you're doing right now is, to quote Avengers, you're moving to a higher form of war. Like you're saying that
Sure.
you, a almost kind of banneret, are like, hey, I'm wealthy enough that I can throw one of these bad boys. 1,000 people, right? Like that's a lot of people. You're probably going to pull some Silchestrians across the border for sure. And there's a question of if you're going to allow Saxons to show up, because there's plenty of Saxons in walking distance of your house.
I think Kendric will send a letter to Prince Kendric,
I see.
and say that Wessexian Saxons will be allowed, but no other Saxons.
Oh, interesting.
And I don't even think he calls them Wessexian Saxons. I think he just calls them Wessexians.
Ah, I see. I see. Would you also like to host a feast during the tournament for £34?
I do not have that much money.
I see. You could always borrow money.
I sure could, but I'm not
Remember
going
when Glimo straight up caused an internal civil war over that? I was like, no big deal. I'll just dock him a point of honor or something. And Glimo was like, this is my line, motherfucker. No further. Okay, so no big feast, but the tournament will, of course, be well attended with 1,000 entrants.
Well, and there's no feast, but it's definitely catered.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, no one's going to be starving here, but
yeah,
you know, again, we're not in the tourney period. You're not ready for A Knight's Tale. Okay. That concludes your business with the Countess. I would like that intrigue check now. And in the process, this is going to take you out of the game for the rest of this feast. You know what I mean? Like, yep. Your intriguing will prevent you from getting involved with anywhere else. And for notes, by the way, just in case it matters to anyone, Sir Paul with a W is the Knight of Cheverel Magna is the name of his estate. Take a look at this.
That's a 12 on a 16.
12. Okay, so here are some true facts you know about the situation. I'm gonna ask you to make a choice here. You can either investigate more about the Saxon situation, or you can get involved with this Ridichan thing, but you can't do both.
Ridichan.
Okay.
I think Ridichan.
You prioritize Ridichan. So, from what you're hearing, some people know a little bit more than your spies, only insofar as they've kind of suspected something like this would come around. They're calling this group the Oxford Usurpers, and they are based out of Oxburn, Sheerburn, and Wallingford. And they are threatening the town of Dorchester and Abingdon Abbey. All of these are major cities or towns in Ridichan. It is led by 3 brothers. No one's quite sure of what their names are, sort of deal. They're just kind of known as truly lazy bastards, right? Like, when Uther would put out the call, these guys would not show up because they sovereign citizened their way out. They claim that they were not summoned because they were not freeholding barons of his, so they were not required to show up. Now, of course, these guys were knights without castles, right? Then there's no way that they were going to be freeholding barons. And they claimed underneath the old laws that only a freeholding baron needs to answer his summons. The countess didn't contest it, and the Earl at the time, Earl Bledry, just didn't have the forces to fight these guys. They apparently had close to 100 knights at their command, and some supporting soldiers. It sounds like now they've taken these 3 castles from the inside. Like, they basically kicked the Countess out, tried to kill her, failed. She is on the run. You know that this woman is considered to be quite attractive, and she, according to your rumors, is offering one free castle holding to anyone who can free the knights from her lands. So, like, there are 3 castles that are in contest here. If someone can deport them out, you'll have to swear loyalty to her, of course. I mean, it's in Fifing, but you'll get a full-on castle. And of course, Oxford is no small matter, right? If you were to get Oxford Castle, which would be crazy, but if you did, there's a university there. It's a small walled city. It has a huge keep there. Like, Oxford is a serious business. By the same manner, these are old castles, and the people defending them, the leadership might be lazy bastards and disloyal brigands. I don't know that any of you have actually ever attacked a castle before. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't have the... I'm talking about, like, leading
We besieged a castle.
You've been part of a besieging of a castle. You have not led the siege of a castle.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
To fall back on the same Avengers quote, this is a higher form of war than you guys have done. There are truly no one in Salisbury who has the experience to do this. You're going to need to have an expert in battle to get this done. Or get lucky. If you want to know more, you're going to have to send a scouting party, though. This is the extent of what you learn based on spending all night talking to people and piecing together rumors to discredit lies.
While Sir Kyned is intriguing, I would like to go talk to the noblewoman who was talking about how the peasants are rising up.
Lady Eleanor of Vespera.
Lady Eleanor, yes.
Lady Eleanor is a woman going around in like a low-cut bodice, flirting with many of the knights and even some of the ladies here. You know what I mean? Like, this is a woman. It doesn't seem like she's looking to make a lasting or even a romantic connection. She's just like, whoa, doom has come across the land. Come talk to me. And then, like, has fun having conversations with people, I guess.
Okay.
Maybe flirting is too strong a word for it, but she just seems to enjoy the gossip. You go to speak to her. She's just wearing, oh God, what do they call these things? It's that type of dress where it has your house colors on it and like your house seal. I don't feel like they're called like Malraux or something. All right, no one knows what I'm talking about. I'm in way too deep. I'm coming back to the surface. She is wearing a very specific dress that's like half of it is green, representing the color of her house, and the other half has like her house sigilry down it. I definitely have seen these at Ram fairs. They're real. I just don't remember the name of it. But she's wearing that. It's kind of new. Like, this is not a style you've ever seen before. You've never heard of a dress like this. It's very fresh. The Lady Eleanor does not seem to recognize you as you approach and says, Sir Knight, please come sit with me. Come sit with me. Are you interested in the rumors from afar?
I am. I've heard that you have news about the common folk.
Yes, the common folk everywhere. There are peasants who will wait for a knight passing to get murdered. They shall wait until he lays down to sleep at night and kill his squires and take his armor and pretend to be knights. And of course, they are discovered quite quickly. It's not simply mere skill of the blade, but Nobles know nobles. It's not just etiquette. There's something, we're built differently, of course. So it's very easy to discover infiltrators. But I myself watched the hanging of a young man claiming to be Ulrich von Liechtenstein in Londonium, but a few days before I departed for here. Oh, wow, Glimo is roasting me in chat right now. Now that's all I can think about. The dress type is real. It's historical, okay? No, I'm
Interesting. So these peasants are masquerading as noble knights?
Some are, some are. Others simply take the arms and armor and sell them in what passes for a marketplace. They are also discovered quite quickly. It's not like the sale of a sword or armor goes unnoticed, and of course, an armor that has blood on it or a stab wound. Surely no regular peasant knows how to care for the equipment of a knight. I know very little of it, but I'm sure a knight like yourself knows that such armor requires skilled and expert care of a squire of some kind.
Yes, indeed.
You can't just get blood all over it and sell it.
Of course. So if you, when you say this is happening all over Britain?
Oh, yes, 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 yes. No, not in the Saxon lands, of course. There's no knights there to ambush, and no one would put on such pretenses. But north along the King's Road, all the way to Lindsay, they say there are such problems. Not in Somerset, but Clarence to Lindsay, quite a dangerous time. And of course, everyone's always lying in London. So, someone is saying a cote hardy. Definitely mispronounced that, but let's see if that's what I'm babbling about.
Well, that is certainly
no, that's not
concerning news. But you know, these are dark times for what used to be the kingdom.
Oh, it's still quite a kingdom. It's still quite a kingdom.
Just with no king.
You know, they say that Prince Maddox's bastard is out there somewhere, and you can say that she's about to say something, and then she doesn't, and you can tell it's because she's talking to you specifically.
Is there a way I can get her to spill what she's about to say?
I mean, I think you know that it's about the baby that you were responsible for having. You were on trial,
okay.
The treason trial. You know, you're the only member. You're the only person in this room. Maybe Gwent? Was Gwent involved in that? I don't think so.
Gwgan was.
Was
Yeah,
Gwgan?
Oh, yeah, because
well,
Wayne died in like session 2.
no,
Yeah, Wayne died at the very beginning.
But she is talking to you specifically.
Yes.
So yeah, she's like, no. She's not gonna insult you to your face about this. She's a gossip. She's not suicidal or discourteous.
What have you heard of the prince's bastard?
Oh, there's all sorts of rumors left and right. They say that there are many bastards. They say there is but one. I suppose you would know better than I. They say that the two of you really tore up the tents back in the day. Wild men would spread their seed wide, you know? What do you know of any bastards?
They say quite a lot of things. What do I know of any bastards? Did Prince Maddox ever mention anything?
No.
Yeah.
And as much as they say that he was sort of a ladies' man who was, you know, doing it up, you recall that wasn't really the case. Like, he inherited that reputation from the young wolves that you hung out, right? Like, he was a very proper son of Uther, right? Like, he was a rigid and kind of, I want to say, stiff guy. Like, fucking around like that was not in his nature, but he surrounded himself.
Maddox?
What?
Who's this? Sorry,
Maddox.
Maddox. I thought he was a classic, like a flirt and slept around a lot all the time. And
I don't remember playing him like that. I think I
Okay.
played him as very strict and formal, like because there was that period where he wasn't quite the crown prince yet and was trying to earn that respect.
Maybe I'm confusing this game with my game.
Or Eric Vulgaris' game where he's a real dickhead.
I think every conversation we ever had with Matic, he was like, I am a very formal person, take me seriously, sort of deal. But
Okay.
the young wolves were absolute wild nut jobs for sure. And he did cultivate that image with them, again, for sure. So, you know, this is one of those cases where even in your own lifetime, you're already seeing the legend of this guy as like a horn dog being crafted when you know that he was straight as an arrow about this. Did he have bastard? Maybe, could be. Certainly there were plenty of rumors about that, and it would be great for the kingdom if it were true. You don't recall anything like that. But there were plenty of people fucking around, including yourself.
Yeah. So I think Kendric will just say, well, my time with the young wolves was at the tail end of their existence. So I don't know anything more than you, perhaps, about the bastards.
She continues to conversate with you for some time, but it's clear that if you don't have any hot goss, you don't have any tea to spill about the bastard, not even anything, she's hoping you'll make something up so that she can spread it. But yeah, no. Your time with Lady Eleonora Vespera comes to an end when she sees someone she'd like to have a sort of talk with. More rumors to spread, more people to talk to. But she does say, it was a great pleasure to speak with you, sir, and I hope we might speak again. I understand that you've announced you're going to be hosting a tournament soon.
I am indeed.
I would certainly love to be involved in any contest of riddles.
Very well. If there is I still have yet to plan the festivities, but should there be a contest of riddles, you would be more than welcome to join.
Fantastic. They call me the Riddler in London.
Interesting.
Is it?
I'll have to put some money on you to win then.
Is it seemly for the tournament organizer to Lady Eleonora of Vespera?
Vespera, okay.
The tournament organizer betting on his own tournament. I see. Somewhere out there, whatever the medieval version of the mob is very upset about this. Very upset they aren't being cut in.
Pete Rose is rolling.
Any other thing we want to talk about here before we go to a break?
Not for me.
I don't think so.
All right, I'm going to spend the whole break looking up the name of this dress. You know, I used to keep a big file of like clothing and dresses in my image portfolio box, and then I deleted all of it when I mass deleted all of my like referential stuff and anime waifu pics. And now I'm like, yeah, you know, an A-frame dress. That's the only type of dress that I know that I can recall, because I don't know the names of the others. I could describe a dress to you, but I wouldn't know the name of it. Anyway, that's my problem. We'll be back in about 5 minutes for the last part. Well, friends, no surprise that my attempting to recreate this dress that I definitely know exists for real, and once knew the name of, I am not able to find it. So here we are back at a party. With me going, I've seen so many dresses with Germanic names in the last 5 minutes. What do you guys want to do?
Is there anything else we need to do at the feast before it's all said and done? We've dealt with the matter of tribute. We've spoken of Lady Ritterchan or Kenneth
You've
Ritterchan.
asked the people not join Prince Mark or Earl Tegfin and to sit out this conflict, I believe.
Duke Idris, like that
I mean,
particular.
there's
combat.
gossip about, but there's no high priority issues, I believe.
All right. I would like to have a quick conversation with the Duchess.
The Duchess.
Yeah, no, sorry, the Countess.
Countess?
The Countess. Yeah.
Yes. Is this the kind of conversation you have in front of everyone, or is this?
No, it's like it's so first off, it's a private conversation, but it's not of a lewd nature. It's a serious conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
She finds time to distance herself from the party and sees you in one of the many attached side rooms that would never really exist in a castle, but because we live in a Bridgerton-esque world where you have to have asides all the time. And no one in this universe, of course, respects the what's the thing from Dungeons and Daddies, the side.
Oh, the dad huddle.
Oh yeah, no one respects the dad huddle. Yes, yes.
I literally I was watching an arcade game yesterday where they're like whispering in the gyms, like the people can hear you. It's like, no, they can't. We're in a huddle. Ellen, I think everything's going well. I just wanted to ask you, next year, Blood will be of an age that she can begin to squire, and I can't thank you enough for looking after her care so that I've not been distracted. All I wanted to ask was, will you take care of choosing a knight for her to squire with, or is that something that you would like me to look after?
I am aware of where she is being and fostered. And I believe that she is, if all things go in time, she should become a knight or a lady in the year 506. Are our records matching right now?
Yeah, so
Yes.
Next year should be 14, and then that's where you become a squire for the first
and
time.
Then in 500 she'll be, and then in 506 she'll be 20.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I believe I can find a place for her if you are okay with me helping direct the course of her life as my ward.
Of course, I
know that you are worried that you might lose her to plots and intrigues, and certainly raising a child in these times is always a dangerous affair. I know that, you've lost some. I think you lost a nephew and a son at the same time. Was that what happened?
Yeah, well, so because I sent Owain's eldest and my eldest both on the pilgrimage, and they both died on the pilgrimage.
It's dangerous times everywhere. I will do what I can to protect the girl.
Thank you. I've always put my family's and my trust in you. I know that you will make the right choice. I wanted to make sure that you were happy to do so.
Can I ask, as long as we're having a private conversation, is there some way that you might divert Kendric from this upcoming with the Baron? I cannot afford to lose Baron Will, and I cannot afford to have Kendric commit any crime against his chivalric oaths that might come from him accidentally killing the Baron in a duel.
I'll talk to him. I will do everything I can
for this manner to disappear honorably for all involved. But I am afraid that the Baron probably cannot put such an ending forward.
I'll talk to him.
Thank
no
you.
problem at all. I'm done with this. So
as you're watching back through the halls, like a dude who's japing by you with a flute who looks exactly like Tom Cardy, like japes past you and says, "Tell me, friend, have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?" And then he stands in place and he plays the flute for like 3 seconds, real hardcore, and then he stops and waits to see what your answer is.
No, but I'd be willing to compose it if it doesn't exist yet.
Ooh, composure! Let's collaborate. if you would like to pre-compose something for the upcoming poetry contest at the tournament, this is a reasonable role. Although I will point out that someone already composed The Tragedy of Darth Plagueis Lies in this universe. But certainly competing compositions of things is
definitely
not unheard of.
Yeah, I'll take their metaphor and turn it into allegory.
Oh no, at least it's not a simile. All right, allegorical. Oh no, so now we're gonna have a whole race of people that are like Plagueis and what's Palpatine's Sith name?
Sidious.
Plagueis and Sidious in the laboratory to represent a moment where a student is about to defeat a master.
Yeah. I'll even invent Iron Pentameter, put it in that. How about that?
All right, I want to see this composition roll.
All right, let's give it a go.
All right, you and Brennan the Fool get together and compose a pretty good lore about this, again, entirely fictional thing that you've already heard, but you come up with a new allegorical interpretation of it that one could even make a thesis out of historical study. I mean, this is a scholarly work on top of having a pretty good rhyme structure.
Look, if it's not in a future book of the Bible, I don't know what they're even doing.
The sacred Jedi texts. No! That was the moment where Mark Hamill hit the lowest point of his career, was him going, the sacred Jedi texts! I was like, Star Wars has just leaped over into the same realm as someone jamming somebody with raspberry jam. That's where we're at right now.
I thought it was Wing Commander 3.
Oh, Wing Commander 3. Wow.
Heart of the Tiger.
Wow. Okay. I'm a Star Citizen player now. Do not speak to me of Wing Commander. It's a bad time.
Shall we?
I can need a conversation with Kendric then.
Okay. I think.
Yep. Good.
Kendric will be getting the order together to talk about what Sir Kyned has learned, but we can catch that before.
Yeah, I think I'll turn up early for a conversation.
Okay.
Kendric, can we have a quick, candid conversation?
Of course.
It's regarding your upcoming duel with Baron Wheel.
Oh, right. I'd almost forgotten about that.
Had you considered the difficulty it puts the county in when two of the Countess's knights are dueling, especially ones where there is already an unusual track of not homage, but because you're what's Kendrick?
Fealty.
Not sworn fealty, yeah. Especially, duels are good and all, but sometimes the worst can happen. In the passion of battle, we've all felt it. We've all felt that moment. Is there no way to resolve this amicably?
I mean, I think there definitely could be. I mean, I hadn't planned on dueling him to the death, but as you say, things can sometimes get out of hand accidentally. Perhaps there is a manner non-lethally in which we can settle this in like a horse race or some sort of hunting competition, perhaps, or maybe like a pie eating contest. I don't know.
Oh boy, actually, sorry to cut in here as I cut in all the time. I would love to see a Baron and a Banneret Knight eating a pie contest as the last part of the tournament to entertain the common folk. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, that's the kind of shit where you're like, I want to dunk my local politician by hitting a ball on a thing, sort of deal. Like a politician embarrassing themselves, 100%.
Yeah.
Let me have a talk with the Baron.
The duel isn't until Christmas, so you have plenty of time. But
I think if the idea is put forward by a third party, it
and then it doesn't cost either me or the Baron any face to change the plan, as it were.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Oh, look, here's Kyned.
Kyned, you've finished politicking, and you've come back over with all of your intel, some more useful than others.
Well, gents, I can't even say good news and bad news, but I have news.
What did you learn?
The Countess of Ridchan has indeed been deposed. There's 3 brothers. They have, from the inside, taken over the 3 largest castles, including Oxford. They tried to kill the Countess, but they failed, and now she's on the run. She is offering 1 free castle holding if someone dispatches the usurpers and puts her back in her rightful place. But it would involve getting 3 knights and however many people that they have out of some quite formidable castles.
Well, you've already learned a lot without us going there. I don't know whether, short of offering to help,
I don't know that an intelligence gathering mission is going to be helpful at this point, given what I learned tonight. So at least we have confirmation. So there's 2 ways in my mind of going about this, but I'm not the most skilled tactician. Either we take a large army and lay siege, which
will be costly.
And will take time.
And we'll need someone with an enormous amount of skill, which isn't me. Or we need to find some other way in and put a dagger in their ribs.
Perhaps in the short term, we simply encourage the Countess to offer sanctuary to Countess Ridchan. As you say, if she's on the run, and we are a neighboring county.
Indeed, I was not able to find where she's currently holed up. I don't know how. I don't know how hard it will be to find her, but I suppose it depends on whether she feels that where she is secure or not. But certainly we could put that call out.
I wonder if there's... I mean, I don't mind the idea of, sending in an assassin to plant a knife in these traitors' backs, but if there is a third way, if we can somehow draw them out into a decisive field battle where we can at least destroy enough of whatever troops they have gathered, that a siege is much more viable. But I think
my only worry there is that my intelligence has told me that they're 3 lazy bastards. They spurned Uther's call to battle every time there was one. So I'm not sure that you'll get them out of their tick hole now that they're dug in.
And that also marks them as cowards. So the other possibility would be to simply allow the threat of a siege to hopefully drive them into hiding. If we make it known that Salisbury plans to support Countess Ridderchan's actual claim on her own property, we have soldiers that are battle hardened, having worked with Idris in recent years. Perhaps the threat of an army landing at the door will be enough to motivate them to find other accommodations.
I could certainly start a rumor that Salisbury, Silchester, Somersets are all marching on them. It won't be true, but it might.
Well, in any case, we should seek the Countess's permission before we do such. But I don't see an independent fact-finding mission is required now, based on what you've learned.
I don't think so either.
Independent fact-finding mission? You don't want to send a congressional junta, or perhaps...
And I think, there are ways to deal with castles that, while it might be difficult on the land and the peasants, winters can be very long if you have nothing to eat.
Wow, I want to go out on that statement. That's a good one.
It's too bad it's spring.
Wow. Yeah, but I mean, basically Kendric is suggesting that if it comes to it, we can just raid the crap out of them.
I mean, the thing about castles is they're normally prepared to survive at least one winter. But yeah.
Sure.
How prepared do you think these
lazy bastards are?
Yeah, I mean, if they've already raided, if the place has already been raided once by them, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's despondent peasants who are not necessarily working their land properly.
I mean, it may not even necessarily need a raid. We can just go in and be like, "Hey, I've got some room in my holdings if you want to move south and get away from these assholes."
Stealing peasants from County Ridderchan?
Yeah, man, absolutely.
How Silchesterian of you. Well, James, while we're here and preparing to do outros, I just want to let you know that this is a week where I turned to Pondo and I said to him, "Embrace me like a true Christian." So the meme lives on.
And did you strangle him then?
No.
Okay, well then you're not living like a true Christian. It turns out.
Well, what I did instead, like a true Christian, I used my miraculous connection to God to heal the person I was hugging of all their sins so that they could go to heaven.
Man,
I'm sorry I didn't murder them. Instead, I did the true works of the one true God, Jesus Christ. But our definitions of what a true Christian is vary slightly, I think. I'm a miracle worker in Savage Worlds, so.
Okay. I was wondering if we were going to get an explanation.
Yeah. The explanation is that I don't use magic. God uses me as a conduit. In the words of Brennan Lee Mulligan, sometimes I raise my hand and God smites people as a result, but I don't do magic.
Indeed.
Any outros, announcements?
Apparently, yeah, it is good to be back. This was fun.
Even for a short time.
What is our upcoming schedule?
I'm definitely out next week.
Definitely out next week. Well, that is a absolutely definite response.
So that's we're out on the 2nd. Then the next opportunity would be the 9th.
I'm iffy for the 9th.
All right, putting it on the calendar.
I'll know more this week, but I might be flying home on the 9th.
You sure you don't want to do another show from the fucking airplane?
Well, now they don't let you do that. So
Yeah, well, guess what, Glimo? I stopped people from doing travel because of you and Rad. We're never doing from a car or an airplane ever again. Never again. You guys are wild.
So we're maybe for the 9th.
Just
maybe
in
for the
case.
9th, but I should be available on the 16th.
Now, the other thing to note is that daylight saving times ends at some point. So time may be moved around.
Next weekend.
Is it next week? Is it that soon?
It is, yep.
When is it? November 3rd? Wow,
Next Sunday. Yeah.
Quite soon. Now, do we gain or lose an hour then?
You gain
fall
it.
back.
You gain.
Yeah, you fall back. Yeah, so effectively you get an extra hour of sleep.
I
Yeah.
don't fall back. I was trained by Commander Shepard. All right, you never fall back. N7s don't fall back. They only advance forward down straight corridors with chest-high walls.
Wider Imperial ships have the least armor on their rear because they should never face the rear of the enemy.
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of military advice I want. The Imperium of Man, the least effective galactic empire in history. Just don't let any inquisitors or commissars catch me saying. All right. Anything else we need to discuss before we depart for this eve? Or in James's case, midday?
I'm going on a boat. I'm going on a tall ship this afternoon with my wife for a dinner by sundown on a
Big sailing ship.
Ship built in the 1800s.
Nice. That's fun.
Okay. That's pretty good.
Gonna go all master and commander.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Gonna seize control of the ship.
Two weevils and go, the lesser of two weevils.
I'll make sure I bring my violin.
An officer in the Royal Australian Navy must always choose the lesser of two weevils. Ah, there, Doctor, I have you. Where that movie is so much better than the books, and that truly that is a statement that takes a lot out of me because it's so rare for the movie to be better than the books. When's the last time that happened? Starship Troopers?
Total Recall. Pretty much
Total
any Philip
Recall's
K.
a
Dick
book?
Yeah, it's a Philip K. Dick book. Same with
okay.
the Running Man.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, with Philip K. Dick, you never really know what you're going to get.
Yeah. I mean, look, Do Androids Dream of Electronic Sheep? Great book. Blade Runner, great movie. Both very different.
Sure. Don't we all dream of giant anime women saying "you look lonely" during the lowest points in our lives?
They actually
I'm not Mawson.
They actually had to option a different book that was called Blade Runner that was out for option at the same time so that they could just steal the name of it. It was a book about black market doctors.
Okay. Wow. I'm still over here watching Lawson get set on fire.
Yeah.
Why,
that
James?
was
Why? This fucking side eye here.
No remorse.
As I said, I need to build my fight card for Gen Con.
He's hardly innocent, but you didn't need to bring him into this, and not this way.
Definitely guilty of the charge, but goddamn.
Don't we all want a giant anime woman to appear before us in our darkest hour and say, "You look lonely"? I can fix that. I can solve that. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. I've just seen that scene over and over again in memes.
Yeah. Now in the Shadowrun game, your character's definitely gonna have a giant anime woman go, You look sad.
I can fix that.
I can fix that.
Yeah, but my character's gonna start at the lowest point of his life, which is just being alive.
Yeah. I'm
considering calling him Johnny Spells just to keep the memes alive. For no particular reason. I mean, an adept is a type of spellcaster, right?
It's true. It's true. It is. Well, sort of.
And that could
Yeah.
just be his Sin's name. You know what I mean? That's not his real
And
name.
you can
That's
get,
just
you can
his
get
work
Mystic
name.
Adepts too. Mystic Adepts can cast spells.
Yeah. Johnny Spells.
I just remember when you said
I
fourth
heard
edition,
Bucks.
which one fourth was, and I remember fourth was the one where they brought in the wireless world, but you still had to like, you only had the Decker was really had all the tech, whereas I think in fifth edition everybody had all the tech, so that all that stuff would like go through. Everyone had a cyber modem in fifth ed or equivalent, but fourth ed was still where the Decker was very important.
Yeah. Well, and like
Yeah.
so, and in fourth ed, you could in turn any comlink into like a deck.
Yeah,
Whereas in fifth edition, they brought back the actual like cyber decks.
that's right. Yeah, I knew most of the changes were around the decking side of things. Yeah,
Yeah.
So
I mean,
fourth was-
And I actually really like the fifth edition like matrix rules. It's just because like in fourth edition, like everything is an extended test for the most part. Whereas in fifth edition, everything is like an opposed test, so it's a little bit more dramatic. But I don't know. We'll have to see if anybody even wants to play a Decker or a Technomancer or anything like that.
We're going to do a party of, I don't know, like 12 fighters. And then we'll get one thief, maybe, and a druid.
Yeah.
And then we'll set out with that to adventure. Maybe in the re-release, we'll add a couple elven archers as rogues.
There you go.
Yeah. No one will like them, though. You know, they're a late addition to the group. All right. That's it. We're going home. Audience, you don't have to go home. But you
Can't
can.
stay here.
James. Why?
Because you paused for too long.
That's how the song goes. He says, but you can't stay here. There's a pause in the song, James.
You paused for too many beats. Sorry, you ruined the flow, and I
I'm
had to fix it.
beatless. That's why.